Votes and proceedings. Votes and proceedings. Page 2295. 2296. 2297. 2298. 2299. 2300. Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Dambaba.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ibrahim Abdullahi Dambaba, Senator representing Sokoto South Senatorial District. I rise to move that votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 6 December 22 be adopted. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Obinna Ogba.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. Obinna Ogba, I represent the good people of Ebonyi Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion ably moved by my friend and colleague, distinguished Senator Dambaba, that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 6th December 2022 be approved. I say second. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 6 December 2022 be approved, say aye. Those against, any, the ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 6 December 2022 is hereby approved. Petitions. Leader of the Senate.
Point of order, President.
Point of order, the distinguished Senator Matthew Ogide.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Matthew Urogide. I represent the good people of Edo South Senatorial District in Edo State. Mr. President, I'm coming under order number 42. I crave your indulgence that I read, Mr. President.
You may read, please.
By the indulgence of the Senate, on the leave of the President of the Senate, the Senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise from the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. Mr. President, I want to go to order number 95, subsection 5A. Thank you, Mr. President. I again crave your indulgence as I quickly read. There shall be a committee to be known as Public Accounts Committee appointed at the commencement of the life of the Senate. The jurisdiction of the committee shall include A, to examine the accounts showing the appropriation of the sums granted by the Senate to meet the public expenditure together with auditor's report thereupon. The committee shall, for the purposes of discharging that duty, have power to send for any person papers or records to report from time to time to the Senate to sit notwithstanding the adjournment of the Senate. Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, I want to bring to the fore before the Senate the problems that I have as chairman of Senate Committee on Public Accounts in the discharge of our duties. Mr. President, you will recall too that in the Constitution, Section 62, I crave your indulgence, Mr. President, just to remind us that Section 62 of the Constitution, which we operate, says that the Senate or the House of Representatives may appoint a committee of its members for such special or general purpose as in its opinion would be better regulated and managed by means of such a committee by resolution, regulation, or otherwise, as it thinks fit, delegate any function exercisable by it to any such committee. Mr. President, I have decided to go this route just to establish the authority that the Senate has when it comes to the functions that it has allocated to the committees that it has appointed. Mr. President, for some time now, my committee has observed that in the management of public finance, to which of course we have been appointed to perform our role in ensuring transparency and accountability in spending public money. By way of this, anything that is appropriated by the Senate, of course that borders on public funds, utilization of public funds, this committee has been mandated to look into it by inviting MDAs and persons that are charged with the responsibility of approving public funds for expenditure. The problem we had this problem. I have come to you, Mr. President, and today I have come to the floor of the Senate to say, in exercising our duties, we have been inviting agencies of government and accounting officers in these agencies or in the MDAs to come and let us know. Number one, the queries that have been raised from the Auditor General's reports. From 2015 to date, all the reports that have been sent to us, we have been having the problem. In fact, if you remember, Mr. President, in the 2015 submission that we made of our report, we mentioned that there were some agencies that blatantly refused to appear before the committee.
Chairman, please go straight to the issue.
These MDAs, Mr. President, I want to remind us that we are empowered by Section 88 and Section 89 of the Constitution to summon them, even if that would be by way of issuing a warrant that will compel them, signed by you, so that they can appear before our committee and give account of what they have spent on behalf of the members of the public of our country. Therefore, Mr. President, if you don't mind, I have those agencies we have listed out that have become I don't want to use harsh words that they have become recalcitrant, but they have vehemently refused to appear before our committee. This list of agencies, and of course the amount that is attached or that is against their names that they have spent, they are staggering. Therefore, Mr. President, I want to crave the indulgence of this Senate that we invite, maybe through your order, either by way of warrant of arrest or anything, so that these agencies can come, so that we can complete our report and submit to the Senate. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. You have come under orders 4295, 7 was it, which clearly explains the mandate of the Committee on Public Accounts of the Senate. Let me right away say that your points of order are sustained, fully, completely, and totally sustained. You are right on the dot to bring to the plenary your grievances. Secondly, I once served as chairman of Public Accounts Committee. I actually served for 8 years. So I have some idea of what we are talking about. My only problem is when you write a letter to the chief executive officer of an agency of government inviting the chief executive officer to appear as a witness, and the person fails, there is ordinarily supposed to be a correspondence from that agency to give a reason why the chief executive officer is not able to appear. Then you give another date. Where there is no correspondence at all, you write a reminder. Where there is a correspondence from them, you give a new date. Now, if you have gone through those processes with these agencies and they fail to appear, it is my opinion, one, that I will read out the list of those names there. If they have no defense, we shouldn't give them any money in the 2023. We cut their budget until they defend the Auditor General's queries. So please come forward and give me that list. I'm going to read it. And we're going to give them a date. Yes, bring it, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
But unfortunately, this is a long list. Over 100. Well, let me say that any public officer who accepts to serve and utilizes public fund appropriated by the National Assembly must be prepared to account before the National Assembly. And any officer who feels he or she is above the law should quit. Should quit. So I will read this list and I will give them a time. If they fail, before we pass the budget, we cut their budget. Yes. Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Ministry of Interior, State House, Budget Office of the Federation, Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading, PLC, IMBET, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, Nigerian Security and Civil Service Defense Corps, Ministry of Defense, Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, Nigerian Air Force, Office of the Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, Lokoja, Federal Ministry of Health, Presidential Amnesty Program, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Police Force, Federal Civil Service Commission, Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority, National Health Insurance Scheme, Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, Federal Ministry of Sports and Youth Development, Civil Defense, Fire, Immigration and Correctional Service, Border Communities Development Agency, Ministry of Environment, National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Nigeria Academy NDA, Nigeria Navy, National Human Rights Commission, National Center for Disease Control, National Security Advisor NSA, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs of Social Development, National Examination Council NECO, Nigeria Police Academy, Federal Ministry of Special Duties, Presidential Air Fleet, National Environmental Standards Regulatory Agency, NISRA, Nigeria Correctional Service, Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Federal Housing Authority, FHA, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Film and Video Census Board, Public Service Institute of Nigeria, Nigeria Institute of Socio-Economic Research, Northeast Development Commission, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Debt Management Office, DMO, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Ahmad Bello University Teaching Hospital, University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, Federal Medical Center, Abuja, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital, Nnewi, Psychiatric Hospital, Kware, Sokoto, Kware, National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, National Intelligence Agency, NIA, Ministry of Defense, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs of Social Development, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Abeokuta, Orthopedic Hospital, Dala, Kano, Federal Medical Center, Umahia, Federal Medical Center, Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta, Federal University of Agriculture, Makodi, Federal Medical Center, Makodi, Federal Medical Center, Kebbi, Federal Medical Center, Unguru, Yobe State, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, National Center for Women Development, Federal Medical Center, Koyi, Federal Medical Center, Bayelsa, Federal Medical Center, Asaba, Federal Medical Center, Taraba, Federal Staff Clinic, Gwarimpa, University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Enugu, Federal Ministry of Aviation, Federal Psychiatric Hospital, Kaduna, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, Rural Electrification Agency, REA, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, FEMA, Federal Medical Center, Bida, Federal Medical Center, Gusau, Zamfara, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Enugu, Federal University, Gashua, Yobe, Financial Intelligence Unit, Institute of Geoinformation Technology, Nigeria Institute of Social Economic Research, Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital, Aminu Kano University Teaching Hospital, Federal Teaching Hospital, Gombe, National Eye Center, University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, Maiduguri, National Orthopedic Hospital, Ibobi, Lagos, Federal University of Health, Science, Otukpo, Benue State, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Efrum, Delta State, University of Maiduguri, Federal University of Agriculture, Zuru, Kebbi State, Federal University, Dutse, Akanibi, and Federal Polytechnic, Unwana, Afikpo, Federal Polytechnic, Ilaro, Nigeria Maritime University, Okeren Koko, Federal University, Lafia, Federal Polytechnic, Daura, Katsina State, Federal Polytechnic, Mubi, National Agency for Great Green Wall, Bio-Resource Development Center, Abagana, Anambra State, Federal College of Education, Bichi, Federal College of Education, Gombe, Federal College of Education, Katsina, Federal College of Education, Oyo, National Obstetric Fistula Center, Katsina, Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, and Ministry of Transportation. Distinguished colleagues, I think by reading this list in plenary, it gives an opportunity for the agencies to know if they didn't know before, for those that may claim ignorance. And I'm taking the opportunity here to advise that in the next 1 week, if the name of an agency is here, that agency should reach the Committee on Public Accounts of the Senate to sort out when the agency will appear before the committee. If there is no communication whatsoever and no cogent and verifiable reasons are given, we'll slash the budget of the agencies. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the 2023 FCT Appropriation Bill 2022 SB 1081. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, 2023 FCT Appropriation Bill 2022 SB 1081, first reading.
2023 FCT Appropriation Bill 2022 SB 1081, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is also the presentation of the House bill standing in my name on the
Chairman FCT, your budget is be read here, and please. You said we can drop it. No, if that's what you want. The SP is not arresting you. Now continue, please.
The second business of the day is also the presentation of the House bill standing in my name on the Federal College of Education, Ebele Be Obia, Bayelsa State, Establishment Bill 2022 HB 1507. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education, Ebelebe Obia, Bayelsa State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1507, first reading.
Federal College of Education, Ebelebe Obia, Bayelsa State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1507, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of the House bill standing in my name on the Federal College of Agriculture, Abi, Cross River State, Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1891. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Agriculture, Abi, Cross River State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1891, first reading.
Federal College of Agriculture, Abi, Cross River State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1891, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Federal College of Education, Dengue, Plateau State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1871. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education, Dengue, Plateau State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1871, first reading.
Federal College of Education, Dengue, Plateau State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1871, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill in the name of Senator Adiola Solomon on the National Commission on Women Act 1992 Amendment Bill 2022, SB 937. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Commission for Women Act 1992 Amendment Bill 2022, SB 937, first reading.
National Commission for Women Act 1992 Amendment Bill 2022, SB 937, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for the confirmation of the nomination of Mrs. Aisha Indanusa Ahmed and Edward Lamitek Adamu for appointment as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in accordance with the provision of Section 8, subsection 1, subsection 2 of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN Act 2007. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action. So moved.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. While seconding this motion, Mr. President, let me just make a comment on the issue of Central Bank. Mr. President.
Then please, find seats for yourself, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we woke up yesterday with a circular and circular circulating the Nigerian space on the issue of Central Bank of Nigeria issuing out some guidelines on limits of money withdrawal from the ATM, which they had pegged at 20,000 naira per day, withdrawal of 100,000 naira per week or per day, 500,000 for corporate organizations, and third-party checks of 50,000 over the counter cannot be paid. 200 million, well, but fantastic if it will require proper motion, but Mr. President, just to say that they rolled out lots of policies, and they rolled out, they said even to take money from the POS will be 20,000 naira, and that the denomination to be put in the POS was going to be 200 naira, and corporate organizations 500,000 naira, and then withdrawal of money to the tune of 5 million from about 600 branches with about 35-40 million customers. We'll have to go to the banking headquarters for approvals. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Our commerce, I don't think, is ready for this, and our economy may not take this shock. And as such, Mr. President, I want to say that now that there's this, there's the issue of screening of nominees from the CBN, I just thought that I should speak about it so that Nigerians are aware, and then let us look at what we need to do to ensure, let's look at what we need to do on this matter, because people are suffering and it is a very, very serious issue, Mr. President. While making this comment, I therefore rise to second the motion that these nominees be sent to the appropriate committee for screening. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate refers the request of Mr. Presidency in C to the relevant committee for screening, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate refers this to the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions for further legislative action to report within 2 weeks. Well, thank you very much, Minority Leader, for that insight. And at the moment, I would advise, no, it's not going to be a debate on this at the moment. I would advise that these two deputy governors have been in the CBN for the last 4 or 5 years. So they are part of this system. They are not new people. When they come for screening, this is supposed to constitute a major, just hold on, please. Just hold on, please. Let me talk, please. This is supposed to constitute a major issue to be raised before them. You can come with a motion, but I want us to be properly informed and properly guided. Most of us, if not all of us here, have not had an engagement with that institution. We are not happy with what it is, but when we debate, we should have solid grounds. And I believe that at the moment, my personal opinion is, if we want to be cashless society, we should take time to be cashless society, not to jump at once into being cashless. Most Nigerians will be out of business. So I believe that, but we need to have an opportunity, take the opportunity of screening. From there, we can go ahead, because by then, somebody would have explained exactly what they mean. And then we can take a motion. But I don't think we should just go now and take a motion and just speak off the cuff. So this is my ruling. So our committee on just hold on, please. Just hold on, please. Our committee on banking and finance, banking, is not here. The chairman is not here, but some members are here. The vice chairman is here. When they will screen these people, and I imagine it's this week. It's this week. Where are they going? These people are there in the CBN. Why can't they come tomorrow for the screening? So that by Tuesday, and before then we have done our research, they would have gotten more information from CBN itself. We can take a motion. But I want us to take a motion and debate properly informed, not emotions and sentiments. Leader of the Senate, is that fine? Yes, thank you. Observation. Is it on this or something else? Okay. What is the observation?
Mr. President, my observation is that since the announcement by the CBN governor of this policy, Mr. President, my phone, I can talk for myself. I couldn't sleep. My phone was inundated by calls from constituents who, like you rightly observed, are outside the formal sector, but are the one controlling businesses around. Mr. President, we need to see the movement. If we wait, people are extremely very worried. And so I believe, Mr. President, that you would have allowed us to discuss this here for the sake of Nigerians, because we represent them. If we wait for committee...
Okay, distinguished. No. I think there is a misunderstanding here, distinguished. There is a misunderstanding here. I told you what my personal opinion is. My personal opinion is this will get some people off. And maybe my senatorial district is worse than yours in that respect. But we have an opportunity. The Committee on Banking will be screening deputy governors of the central bank. This is one major issue they should raise with them. Tuesday, next week, we can take a motion. By then we have done our own work. We take the motion here. Now it's emotion and sentiment, I know, but we don't have enough. Yes, we can take a motion, but let's have something solid. Yes. No, please, no more observations. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for the confirmation of the nomination of Ambassador Ayuba Jacob Mbako, representing the Federal Capital Territory, for appointment as member of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission, in accordance with the paragraph 31, part 1 of the third schedule of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action. I so move.
Okay, before Minority Leader, before you second, let me emphasize again, Deputy Chairman Banking, we are going to take a motion on Tuesday on this CBN matter. So please do your screening between tomorrow and Friday and Monday. Tuesday, we want to be properly informed. You, the committee, would have gotten some information. The rest of us would have also gotten some more information. And then we debate it on Tuesday. Please. Okay, go ahead, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this nominee be referred to the appropriate committee for screening and for further legislative action. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President, C&C, on the confirmation of the nomination of Ambassador Ayuba Jacob Mbako, representing Federal Capital Territory, for appointment as member of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission. Say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The request of Mr. President, C&C, is hereby referred to the Committee on National Planning and Economic Affairs to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is a motion standing in my name under a committal of the National Commission on Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons Bill 2022 to the Committee of the Whole. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion.
You may proceed.
Migrant and Internally Displaced Persons Bill 2022 was passed by the National Assembly and was transmitted to the President for assent. Observes that some fundamental issues which require fresh legislative action by both chambers of the National Assembly emerged after a critical analysis of the bill by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief. Aware that a technical committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives and the Directorate of Legal Services met and worked on the bill, relying on Order 1 subsection B and Order 52 subsection 6 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, accordingly resolves to resign its decision on the bill as passed and recommit same to the Committee of the Whole for consideration and passage. So,
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved by the Leader of the Senate. So second.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Those in favor that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor at clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Elder of the Senate, you want us to go from 1 to 20. That level of acceleration is dangerous. Those who are at clause 6 on page 4, functions and powers of the board. Clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 11, appointment of other staff of the commission. Those who are at clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15 stand part of this bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 16 is on page 14, application for refugee status in Nigeria. Those who are at clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 21 is on page 17, withdrawal of refugee status. Those who are at clause 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 31, application of the fund on page 27. Those who are at clause 31, clause 32, clause 33, clause 34, clause 35, clause 36, clause 37, clause 38, clause 39 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 32 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 35 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Plenary.
I move that the Senate revert to plenary for the chair to report progress.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that revert to plenary and the report progress. I so second.
Thank you very much. Those who are at the chair reports progress say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole consider the National Commission for Refugees, Migrant and Internally Displaced Persons Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 39 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that this bill be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
To second the motion as moved by the leader, I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, any the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Refugees Act, Cap N21, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to enact the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons Act for the management, rehabilitation, return, reintegration, and resettlement of refugees, migrants, and victims of displacement, and for related matters 2022. Third reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Refugees Act, Cap N21, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to enact the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons Act for the management, rehabilitation, return, reintegration, and resettlement of refugees, migrants, and victims of displacement, and for related matters 2022. Third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 1074. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 22nd November 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Jeff Emmanuel Yisa to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Distinguished Senator Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jeff, Bonner Northwest. I rise to lead a debate on a bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act, Cap N91, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigeria Atomic Energy Act for the development and deployment of atomic energy for peaceful uses and the socio-economic development of Nigeria and for related matters. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is with profound pleasure that I rise before you today to respectfully lead a debate on the general principles of the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022. You will recall, my dear colleagues, that this bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Tuesday, 22nd November 2022, I beg your pardon. Essentially, the bill seeks to repeal the Extant Act and enact the Nigeria Atomic Energy Act 2022 to, among other things, streamline its provisions to cater for robust implementation of the National Nuclear Energy Program in line with acceptable international standards and in compliance with Nigeria's obligation under relevant international legal instruments. The bill also lays down general principles for the use of nuclear energy and the implementation of nuclear waste management by competent authorities. It is instructive to note, my colleagues, that we are making history today. This is because since the enactment of the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act in 1976, 46 years ago, no legislative step has been taken to bring about improvement in the Extant Act. Therefore, this legislative action is geared towards aligning the provisions of the Act with the emerging global dynamics in the deployment and control of atomic energy for peaceful purposes in Nigeria You will also agree with me, distinguished colleagues, that judging from the time the Eastern Act was enacted, a lot of development has taken place. As such, there is need for Nigeria to streamline and align its legal instrument on the subject matter by encompassing new innovations in the legislation so as to meet the challenges of the 21st century. Objectives of the bill. From the legal perspective, the peaceful use of nuclear energy and ionizing radiation, and currently governed by a stringent legal framework established by binding instruments of international law adopted under the auspices of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Accordingly, the objectives of the bill are: 1, to develop the ways and technical machinery to effectively explore, exploit, and harness atomic energy for peaceful applications for sustainable national development. 2, to build a world-class institution for the development and peaceful deployment of nuclear technology in all its ramifications for national development in conformity with international best practices. 3, to develop a sustainable framework imbued with fundamental elements of a high safety culture for the peaceful application of nuclear science and technology for the socio-economic development of Nigeria. 4, to streamline, harmonize, promote, and coordinate research and development activities for capacity building and infrastructure development in nuclear technology. And finally, to establish the Nigeria Nuclear Waste Management Company to manage issues relating to radioactive waste. The structure of the bill. The bill has been circumspectly and painstakingly structured into 13 parts, with each part dealing with specific issues on the subject matter and streamlined to address current and emerging situations regarding operational capacities of the Commission, exploitation and exploration of radioactive minerals, nuclear safety and security, nuclear power development in Nigeria, among others. Finally, in compliance with Order 76, Rule 3 of the Senate Standing Orders 2022 as amended, I wish to state that there is no financial compendium attached to this bill, as the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission is already an established statutory body. The purpose of this proposed legislation, therefore, is simply to update the provisions of the Eastern Act and strengthen the role of the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission in promotion of the development of atomic energy for the peaceful uses in Nigeria in conformity with global best practices. Unarguably, the enactment of this bill will be one of the novel interventions by the federal government in its attempt to reinvigorate the country's statutory instrument on atomic energy. On atomic energy development in conformity with what is obtainable in other jurisdictions. On this note, I hereby appeal to all my distinguished colleagues to support the expeditious passage of this bill because of its socio-economic benefits to the country and its relevance to the legal and institutional frameworks regulating environmental governance in Nigeria. I thank you for your kind attention.
The Deputy Senate Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to congratulate my distinguished colleague for sponsoring this bill, which I No, it's okay now, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I want to appreciate and congratulate the sponsor of this bill, distinguished colleague Jeff. This is a very important bill. As has been enunciated in his late debate, the Nigeria Atomic Energy Agency have been established about 46 years ago. But then it has remained very dormant and in fact hidden away in an agency under the Ministry of Science and Technology. Later on, it was relocated to the presidency. I don't know where the agency is, or the commission is now. That shows how hidden is the activity of this agency. Mr. President, we are signatories of the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, which means we are free to develop our nuclear capability. And since the National Atomic Energy Commission's mandate is to develop a nuclear program for peaceful uses, I think it is necessary for us to back it up with law. The nuclear energy is useful not only in medicine, but also in industry. And if this agency or commission, depending on how we call it, is very active, it will be very, very, very effective in turning around our medical services and our process of industrialization. I'm therefore in support of this bill, and I want to recommend it to my distinguished colleagues for second reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator James Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. My highly respected colleagues, James Manager, CEO in Delta South. Mr. President, unlike the man who spoke before me, who is a professor in this particular area, I am just a bloody lawyer. But he has said it all. He has said it all because all over the world, these atomic agencies are being established everywhere. So long as it's for national development and for peaceful purposes. And that is what is reflected here, as far as the lead debate is concerned. And we had it since 1976, over 46 years ago. And so the reason for the existence of Parliament is to look at laws that have become a little bit archaic, amend them from time to time. That is why we are here. And that's exactly what this, the sponsor of this bill has brought to the fore. And therefore, just like the man who spoke before me, I want to also congratulate him for drawing attention of the Senate and therefore the entire country to some of the things that are supposed to be embedded in this particular bill. And that is why this amendment bill is important. So long as it is for peaceful purposes, the international community will also allow us. Again, the other thing that I want to say, Mr. President, is about, I think there is also the existence of a Nigerian Space Agency. Some of these agencies that are existing here and there, I think it's better for us to bring all of them together and to do the necessary legislation and with the necessary executive backing for us to, because if you talk about science and technology, we are very backward. And I think that is one of the problems we have in this society. So I also support this bill, and I want to urge my colleagues to support this bill, this very important bill that will bring development faster in this country that we live in. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
The Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Let me commend Senator Okejeff for sponsoring this very important bill. Mr. President, my comments will be very short, and it's basically looking at the objectives of the bill. In doing so, Mr. President, I want to make reference to item number 2, which says, build a world-class institution for the development and peaceful deployment of nuclear technology in all its ramifications for national development in conformity with international best practice. That is good, but I find it very sweeping, and I think it will be good for us as a developing nation to focus on perhaps some specifics, like the use of nuclear technology to support our food security effort. And I say so because nuclear technology is used to enhance preservation. Right now, a number of our agricultural commodities or crops or produce, we are having waste, some even rising up to 55% of the waste. And I think this technology is capable of reducing such waste, enhancing the perishability of these commodities and making it available over a longer period. And then the second aspect that we know visibly is beneficial is the application to energy. Nigeria's energy deficit is something that is also of concern. And I think this technology can help us to have some intervention that will support that. So I would love a situation where we even point out some specifics while also looking at the other ramifications we talk about, because these ones are more aptly aligned to our national development goals. With these few comments, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I support the second reading of this bill.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act, Cap N91, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and reenact the Nigerian Atomic Energy Act for the development and deployment of atomic energy for peaceful uses, and the socio-economic development of Nigeria and for related matters 2022, SB 1074, second reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act, Cap N91, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and reenact the Nigerian Atomic Energy Act for the development and deployment of atomic energy for peaceful uses and the socio-economic development of Nigeria and for related matters 2022, second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Science and Technology to report by within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the second reading of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, Amendment Bill 2022, SB 1037, Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was first read in this chamber on Tuesday, 26 July 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Utazi Chukwuka to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Very distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi, Enugu North.
President and my respected colleagues, I am Senator Chukwuka Utazi, and I represent the good people of Enugu North Central District of Enugu State. Mr. President and colleagues, I want to thank you for the privilege to lead the debate on this bill, which is intended to further enrich the administration of criminal justice in Nigeria. Recall that this bill was read for the first time in this chamber on 26 July 2022. It is a simple amendment of 4 sections, but intended to bring about great impact and add a weighty value to the administration of criminal justice system as it presently stands. Bail is a fundamental principle of criminal justice system in every civilized society. The constitutional fundamental rights to liberty and the presumption of innocence are also germane. A situation where a person is convicted, sentenced, and committed to prison custody and spends out a term, especially where he has a pending valid appeal, stands to produce an antithetical scenario if at the end of the day the appeal succeeds. This scenario, to say the least, is far from serving the cause of justice. This is not the intendment of our justice system. This bill seeks to address this anomaly. It is also intended to enforce the presumption of innocence of an accused person pending the determination of a valid appeal. Conclusion. The value of the amendment is great. The benefits are also immeasurable because the benefits of a system is in the intrinsic value and is in its potential and potency to deliver intended outcomes to the citizenry. Implementation does not also involve extra budgetary appropriation. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I urge you to please lend your support to this very important bill. Thank you so much.
Distinguished Senator Geshambasi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Geshambasi, Cross River South. Mr. President, we have seen this time and time again in the administration of criminal justice, where we have people's rights, fundamental human rights, denied them simply because they are being denied bail. And I think that this amendment proposed by Senator Otazi goes straight to the fundamental human rights of each and every citizen of this country. And it's important that these rights, above all else, be upheld at all times. And so I rise to support the amendment proposed by Senator Otazi to this bill. We cannot have innocent men or potentially innocent men, especially when there is the presumption of innocence in our laws. We cannot have men that are presumed innocent incarcerated while they await their bail. It should be the other way around. And so I fully support this presentation by Senator Otazi and urge the rest of the Senate to support this. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator James Manager.
Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Senate, and my highly respected colleagues, thank you for the opportunity one more time. This is my area, Mr. President, and trained up to the level of a master's degree from very reputable universities in this country, APU Zaria and University of Lagos. I'm very proud of this, my alma mater. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, this is an area that we need to look at very well. Very well. As we speak now, some of our colleagues are languishing in prison while their bail applications are pending. The question I've often asked myself, for which I have not been able to provide any answer, is what about if their conviction is set aside by the Supreme Court of the land? What happens to the number of years that they must have suffered in prison? Because it is not final until the Supreme Court gives its finality. And when a conviction is procured by the people who are prosecuting, at the end of the day, you never can tell what may have happened. That is why in our judicial system, there is a court of first instance, there is room for appeal up to the Supreme Court. Anything can happen. And then prison is not a good place for any human being. Mr. President, if in your own house, as luxurious as your house is, Mr. President.
My house is not luxurious.
If you must not leave your house for 2 days, or even 1 day, that house that you used to enjoy, whether it's luxurious or so, it is a house that you are used to. it will begin to give you problems. That is what that freedom is all about. It's priceless. And a conviction by one court below is not sufficient for you to keep a person in prison. After all, these are borrowed laws. In our legal system, these are borrowed laws that we have decided to apply. So why can't we? That is why this parliament is here, Mr. President. We look at these issues. Mr. Otazi, Senator Otazi, Senator Barrister Otazi, thank you for CON. Well, you know, that means you are not a lawyer. It's very clear. Senator Barrister Otazi Chukwuka, this is good. This is good. And if possible, let us have a expeditious hearing of this particular matter. And bring even legal minds. We have quite a lot of them. And I want to believe that so many persons will support us as far as this matter is concerned. Because it's an injustice, terrible injustice. Because that question that I asked myself, for which I have not provided any answer, I doubt if any person can provide an answer. It's morally wrong, at the same time, fundamentally wrong. So, Mr. President, I support this bill in total, from the beginning to the end, from A, B, C, D to Z.
Did you say APC to the end? Oh, okay, sorry. The DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obiomo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, like my brother, colleague from Delta State, I like to align myself with his submissions and thank Senator Utazi for bringing this bill. Mr. President, this is an area that has been agitating the minds of so many, and will continue to do so unless and until something is done. Mr. President, this is not novel, but this is one of the reasons. The reasons advanced by Utazi is one of the reasons people have advanced in support of the removal of capital punishment, the implementation and execution of death sentence. Because people always asked, what happens if after the implementation of a sentence, let's say a death sentence, evidence surfaces that points to the innocence of the person accused, convicted, sentenced, and executed. It is for that reason, Mr. President, that most countries have moved away from capital punishment. Mr. President, let me even delve a little bit into the civil arena. An arena dealing with electoral jurisprudence. Even in our act, the electoral act here. Now, when a court of first instance rules against you and set aside your elections, you don't automatically quit the Senate or wherever you are. You remain there until the outcome of the final adjudication by the final court. It is the same analogy I believe Utazi is trying to drive home here. What do we lose? Yes, the man is being convicted by the court of first instance, probably that of the intermediate court as well. But unless and until there's a final adjudication by the Supreme Court, that presumption of innocence, that right to liberty, not going to be curtailed. We lose nothing. If at the end of the day, Supreme Court says yes, the Supreme Court validates that judgment, then of course.
Chief Whip, please, the chamber is noisy.
Yes, Mr. President. So if at the end of the day there's a final adjudication by the Supreme Court, we lose nothing. If it is 4 years, that 4 years begins to run from the date of the final adjudication. And that's the only way we can address this menace. Because what happens after you've been convicted or your convictions are affirmed by Court of Appeal, and you are instantly taken into custody, and you serve 3-4 years, and the sentence is 4 years, and at the end of the day, Supreme Court rules and sets aside the judgment of the lower court. How do they compensate you? We've seen instances abroad where some people are given $1 million for 30 years spent in prison, albeit wrongfully. Can you ever compensate a man for loss of his liberty and freedom with money? So I think I see a lot of merit in the argument presented by Utazi, and like my colleague, the manager, I will support that this bill be read the second time. Thank you, Mr.
Senator San Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I support this bill as much as the desires of the need to put these things right. But after the first reading, which was just read, the bill has not been gazetted, and then in the lead debate, my senior colleague maybe forgot to mention the sections that need to be corrected, to be amended. But in any case, this is very desirable because in so many cases, people are being convicted from the lower courts, and then by the time they appeal, and the appeal are upheld, you'll see that they have already suffered some consequences of the first action that the lower court did. So I think there is need for this chamber to look at it very seriously, but we need to get the details so that at least it will guide us when making our contributions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Akejev.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, Jeff. Benue Northwest. I want to take off from where Senator Sani just left. I think last week I was not on the floor here, but my bill was passed into law, which was repeal and enactment of this piece of legislation. And in that bill, the issue of bail, even in the extant law, is there. I'm not taking a look at this particular one. I don't know how this one is couched. But I want to caution, I'm not against the second reading of the bill, but I want to caution, Mr. President, that the issue of bail is largely because, one, is in the Constitution. Two, it is largely a matter of discretion based on the facts before the judge. At the time somebody is convicted, the presumption is that you are guilty. Now, if you bring about a situation where convicted people are unleashed on society, of course, at the end of the day, some may be innocent. But if you make it a matter of law that convicted people are unleashed on the society, I assure you that a lot of them will just disappear into thin air after the conviction, because before conviction, you know, they may think that, okay, at the end of the trial, they may, escape. So we have to be very careful in the way we tread with this bill. I have not seen the couching of the particular laws, and this is another thing I've been quarreling here. Our standing rules say that we must have advance copies, notice of every matter that is to come on the floor. most times I don't have it. I'm confronted with that when I'm on the floor. Otherwise, I would have said more and backed it up with, certain positions of the law. But the way I hear this being argued is leading me into a situation where, after conviction, since you are going way down to the Supreme Court, you should be given bail. That should not be the position of the law. Thank you.
Well, distinguished colleagues, thank you very much for your contributions. Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and for related matters 2022, SB 1037, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and for related matters 2022, second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report by within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I would like to come under Order 1B to regulate the Senate procedure, to regulate our procedures. And based on that, I would like us to take second reading of the FCT. Right, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you move the motion? Distinguished colleagues, please, Chief Whip, Senator Matthew Orogide, please. No, you leave. No, please. If you must speak, do so in a very low tone, please. Let's listen to our colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader, and I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader, proceed, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to lead the debate on the general principles of the FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill 2023. The bill was first time read on Wednesday, 7th December 2022. The 2023 FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill seeks to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration account the total sum of $502,958,983,377 naira only. The sum of 576,821 naira only is for the personal costs, and the sum of 116,812,004,970 is for overhead costs, while the balance of 308,621,401,586 only is for the capital projects. For the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year commencing January 1st and ending 31st December 2023. the trust of the FCT 2023 statutory project proposal. The fundamental thrust of the FCT 2023 statutory appropriation bill is to ensure an effective and enduring service-oriented administration for the completion of ongoing projects and the provision of effective services to the residents of the Federal Capital Territory. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, worthy of note is that the Federal Capital Territory was originally planned for about 3.1 million people. The rapid urban growth coupled with the slow pace of development of infrastructure for the teeming population has led to the scarcity of infrastructures. The rapid urbanization of Abuja has also led to the increased traffic, increase in waste generation, degradation of air quality due to the population, increase in crime rate, incessant lack of power supply, pollution of water and land, slow pace of development in the satellite towns, etc. Abuja is too far behind in terms of achieving the development targets envisaged. Only 20% of the target has been achieved due to the scarce resources often made available to the administration over the years. In recent years, the FCT administration has been confronted with enormous infrastructure and socio-economic challenges by virtue of being the capital of the nation. The FCT population is growing in leaps and bounds. This has also overstretched and strained existing infrastructure and the amenities, and thereby slowing down development and growth. Therefore, service delivery has also been adversely affected. Cleaning up the city is becoming more challenging. The few hospitals are fast losing their assets. Unlike other cities like Lagos, the FCT does not have adequate private hospitals to complement the public hospitals and clinics. It is therefore fast becoming a risky thing to fall ill in the FCT. Also, the standard in the public school system is falling by the day. The population of pupils and students in public schools is growing daily as parents from across the country are bringing their children and wards to the FCT. Mr. President, distinguished senators, permit me to state here that FCT is today the safest place in the country, but it can only maintain this standard by addressing the challenges as mentioned above. The FCT requires yearly budgetary provision of about ₦1 trillion to sustain and complete abandoned and ongoing projects within the districts that have so far been developed and partially developed. These include the completion of roads and the utility projects like water that have higher socio-economic value to the residents and the visitors of the FCT. Infrastructure layouts in districts, engineering and electrical projects, sewage and the refuse management facilities, expansion of schools and hospitals, and the development of satellite towns in FCT. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I urge you all to give this bill an expeditious passage into law. Thank you, and God bless all of us.
The minority whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second and make contribution on this very important bill, the Federal Capital Territory Statutory Appropriation Bill of 2023. You know, the last time we discussed about that of 2022 and then passed it last week, this week, and you cautioned that they have to sit up and come with 2023, and timelessly too, they have responded and come back with this request, this proposal for 2023. I want to say that, you know, in the last discussions I made a reference to satellite communities in around Abuja here, and the type of flooding that the experience of flooding they had in this 2022, it was never like, we never saw anything like that before. And I'm happy that the leader who led this debate talked about this infrastructure in the satellite towns. And I know that if we do that, we remove the pressure from the Abuja metropolis. But if we don't do, everybody craves for good thing for himself. Everybody will move away from area of discomfort and come to the area of comfort. And by the time you know it, we have start having slums within the Federal Capital Territory. We won't want to go back to what El-Rufai did when he was the minister, breaking and collapsing a lot of illegal infrastructure built in town here. So if this thing is followed strictly and the money applied, given to contractors to continue those jobs, I think will help make things work well for the FCT and restore the initial structure that put in place here so that nobody changes it and tampers with it. With this, I want to support the second reading and then sending this into the appropriate committee for legislative processes. Thank you so much.
Distinguished Senator Barrow Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Barrow Jibrin, I represent Kano North. Mr. President, permit me to commend the Minister of FCT and indeed the committee for putting pressure on the Ministry of Federal Capital Territory to conform with the federal government zeal to make sure that our budgets are passed every December on or before every December of for every year. In other words, maintaining a budget cycle that runs from January to December every year. Hitherto, that was not the case for FCT. But they've taken to our advice and they've told onto line. This is very good. If we are able to pass this budget this year, they will be on the same page at par with the federal government budgetary system. Of course, we are the oversighting assembly, being the National Assembly of this country. So it's good that we're having this appropriation bill before us at this point in time. Having said so, I've said it severally, not once, not twice. There's a need, that need to always make sure that Abuja remains a city that we can be proud of. Abuja, as being the federal capital of this country, it is the most important symbol of this nation. Therefore, everything should be done to make sure that it remains very orderly and befitting of this country for ours as the federal capital of Nigeria. So, all things that are needed should be provided for this modern city. It is sad to see that sometimes you move around the streets without street lights. The sanitary situation in the city sometimes is something that we all condemn, is not as what we want to see. So please, I want to call on the FCT committee to make sure that they look at this budget and they draft it in a way that it will be able to address these issues so that the trend will change. We no longer have cities that do not have street lights. There should be more orderliness in the city. There should be better sanitation, and all what is needed should be provided for in the budget. And besides that, one trend that we don't like to see is when monies are provided in the budget, particularly the capital side of budget, and here, ends without implementing the budget, whereas the money is there, whereas the money is available. Countries on big cities like this sometimes run on deficit budgets, but now you have a situation where revenues have accrued to the FCT, but they are not utilized in line with the budgetary provision to make sure that issues that are creating problems in cities are addressed. So it is important that the minister should be called to make sure that he does the needful in terms of implementing the budget fully as provided in the Appropriation Act when the bill is passed into law. I so submit, Mr. President.
The Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me align myself with the previous speakers and to commend the FCT committee for making sure that this budget was submitted, and to thank the leader of the Senate for moving the debate for the second reading of this bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the area I would like to speak to is based on the last budget we approved for 2022. If you analyze that budget, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I noticed that the FCT administration allocated huge sums of money for the purpose of going all over the city to enforce those who are doing the wrong thing in terms of either building in wrong places or even using the reserve areas, parks, and the likes. And I noticed in that bill, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, that the amount of money given to the development control that has the responsibility of going around in the first instance to stop these people from even doing that illegal structure or whatever is also very low. So I'm pointing this out so that the committee, the chairman of the committee, should please take note. I think it is important. We know it is cheaper to prevent than to come back to say you want to provide a cure to an issue you will have been able to prevent. The Development Control Department has enormous job to go around and make sure that those people who will dig the ground, start building these illegal structures and so on and so forth, are stopped right on their track. And I think that activity itself requires a lot of funding. And the allocation to that department, from what I have seen, taking a cue from the 2022 budget, is abysmally low. So I think we should take note of this so that they will actually prevent these things from happening. Rather than all these pains we are causing to our citizens, we allow them to build, get to a particular stage, and then we'll come back again and get a large pool of security personnel to go into neighborhoods to start destroying. So I thought this is very important. And then lastly, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, there are a lot of construction work going on. The budget should ensure that completion is given priority so that those neighborhoods where construction is going on right now, creating go-slows and traffic gridlock, they are able to complete it in good time, and of course, give room for Mr. President to be able to commission some of these projects before the expiration of his term.
Okay. Distinguished Senator Tolu Odebi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, distinguished colleagues. I remain Senator Tolu Odebi, representing the good people of Ogun West. Mr. President, let me also add my voice to the complimentary remarks a lot of my colleagues have placed on the Honorable Minister for the FCT and his administration for the wonderful job they have been doing. Mr. President, if you take a cursory look at the 2022 budget and 2023, you will see that they have worked assiduously in upping the revenue generation of the FCT. And that in itself, it's commendable. I think they are #2 now in the country, and I think we need to give them a lot of commendation for the hard work they have done. We have equally had the opportunity, the committee, to go around to take a look at all the various projects they've been undertaking, and we've come back quite impressed to see that they are quite focused. They are determined to finish as many projects as possible, and they have made the 2023 budget in line with their priorities to make sure that projects that they are going to be able to, they have prioritized will be completed by the end of this administration. If we also noticed that despite all the security challenges and certain scares that we get in the FCT once in a while, there has been relatively calm, and FCT has remained secured, and they have also increased the security surveillance and across the FCT. I think this is commendable. I think the 2023 budget I'm glad that it's coming before the end of this season, which is going to enable them to complete all the projects they are looking to complete. So once again, I think it's commendable, and I think it's a good thing they have been doing, and I must honestly give my commendation to the Minister and also to the Chairman and members of the committee that have worked with them to make sure that this budget is presented before the end of this term. May I also say that we also need to also take note that it's also important that as FCT continues to expand and develops and the population continues to increase, it's also important that we also look at how the federal government could also augment their share of the revenue to the FCT in order to enable them to complete all the capital projects that are ongoing. I submit that this is a very good budget, and I rest my case. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill now be read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration account the total sum of 502,953,983,377 naira only. The sum of 77,525,576,821 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 116,812,4,970 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 380,621,401,586 naira only is for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year commencing from 1st January and ending on 31st December 2023. Second.
A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Consolidated Revenue Fund or the Federal Capital Territory Administration account the total sum of 502,958,983,377 naira only. The sum of 77,525,576,821 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 4,970 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 308,621,401,586 naira only is for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year commencing from 1st January and ending 31st December 2023. Second reading taken. and the bill is referred to the Committee on the FCT to report back within a week. Chairman, report back within a week. You have already started something within a week, so that we pass the FCT 2023 budget together with main budget. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Sports and Youth Development on the screening of Larry Bajabia Miller for appointment as Director General National Lottery Regulatory Commission. Distinguished senators will recall that the request of Mr. President Commander-in-Chief was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 30th November 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Oba Joseph Obina, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Obina Ogba.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Obina Ogba, I represent Ebonyi Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Sports and Youth Development on the confirmation of the nomination of Larry Bajabi Amelia for appointment as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission. I so move.
I need a seconder. Distinguished Senator Uche Lillian Ekwenife Iyom.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my name is Senator Uche Lillian Ekwenife Iyom. I represent Anambra Central. I'm from Anambra State. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved by distinguished Senator Obina Ogba. So second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Sports and Youth Development on the confirmation of the nomination of Larry Bajaba Miller for appointment as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission, say aye. Those against, any ayes have it. Chairman, you may lay the report, please. You can present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The report of the Committee on Sports and Youth Development on the screening of nominees for appointment as Director General of National Lottery Regulatory Commission, NLRC. The background. The Senate, at its sitting on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, considered the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for confirmation of the nomination of Larry Bajabi Amila as Director General of National Lottery Regulatory Commission for a second and final term of 4 years, as referred same to the Committee on Sports Youth Development for legislative action. 2.0 is membership of the committee. Then 2.1 is secretariat. 3.0 is committee's action and methodology. 3.1, the original copies of the document listed in 3.2 were duly cited by the committee. 3.2, the committee carefully studied the provided documents, and thereafter went ahead to screen the nominee. The nominee appeared before the committee for screening on 29th November 2022 at meeting room 120, New Senate Wing of National Assembly. The 5.0 is receiving and findings. Larry Abujami, Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission, was born on 26 July 1964 at Surulere, Lagos. This 5.1 is educational qualification. 5.2 working experience. And Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, 6.0 is interactive section with the nominee. During the screening of the nominee, committee members asked questions on a wide range of issues, subjects such as his age, educational background, work experience, and how his nomination for the second term would help the Commission in achieving its core mandate. In all cases, the nominee gave reasonable and satisfactory answers to all questions asked. He was also commended for the good work he has done in the Commission for the last 4 years. Observation: after the committee's interactive session with the nominee and going through his curriculum vitae carefully, the committee found as follows: that the nominee gave in-depth responses to the questions posed by the members of this committee on the value he would add towards the position he is about to assume. Number 2, that after scrutinizing his credentials, the committee is satisfied that the nominee has requisite experience, integrity, and professional competence to discharge the functions he was nominated for. And the committee noted that there was no adverse security reports, nor any petition against the nominee. Recommendations 8.0. After thorough scrutiny of all relevant documents of the nominee and squared to his performance during the screening exercise, the members of the committee were satisfied with the nominee's qualification, experience, and stability. The committee therefore recommends that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Larry Bajabia Miller as the Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission, NLRC. Conclusion: Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the committee, I express my appreciation to the Senate, President, and the entire Senate for the opportunity given to us to serve. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you.
Any comments? Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that we resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Approval. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Larry Bajabia Miller for appointment as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary to consider, to report progress.
Minority Leader.
I so second, Mr. President.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverse the plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Sports and Youth Development on the screening of Mr. President's nominee for appointment as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission, and approve the nomination of Larry Bajabamila as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Confirmation. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Larry Bajabamila for appointment as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Larry Bajabamila is hereby confirmed as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission. Congratulations to him, and we wish him the best of his next and final tenure. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Okene, Kogi State, Establishment Bill 2022, SB 933. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 14th June 2022. Mr. President, may wish to invite Senator Ahmed Baba Keita, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Ahmed Baba Keita.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And thank you for the correction. My name is not Ahmed Baba Keita. My name is Ahmed Baba Keita. So the leader of the Senate, take note.
Sorry? He didn't pronounce your name properly?
No, sir, he did not. Maybe he's fasting.
No, people who are fast. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Once more, thank you, Mr. President. May I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Federal University.
Have disappeared. No chief whip, no minority whip, no whip at all. I think we'll have an acting whip. Okay, go ahead, Keita.
May I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Okene, Kogi State, Establishment Bill 2022, SB 933. I so move.
I need a seconder. Very distinguished Senator Gesham Bassi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gashon Bassi, Cross River South. I second the motion as moved by Senator Keita. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Okene, Kogi State, Establishment Bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You may let the report, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, please present the report.
Once more, thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Report on the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institution on Tetfon on a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Education of Kenya, Kogi State, and for connected matters 2022 SB 933. The Senate, in its plenary sitting on Tuesday, 14th June 2022, debated on the general principle on a bill to upgrade the Federal College of Education of Kenya to become a full-fledged Federal University of Education, Kogi State, in Okene, Kogi State, and for connected matters, sponsored by distinguished Senator Yakubu Useni, Kogi Central. After extensive deliberation, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institution and Tetfon for further legislative action by Senate Order of Referral dated Wednesday, 15th June 2022, and to report back its recommendation. Objective of the bills. The core object of the bill is to provide for the upgrade of the Federal College of Education of Kenya, Kogi State, to a full-fledged Federal University of Education of Kenya, to provide for training and teaching instruction in every aspect of education and such other field of applied knowledge relevant to the development of education to meet the learning and research needs of prospective students, researchers, and specialists in education sector. Specifically, the bill seeks to disseminate of teaching skills, techniques, and knowledge, as well as to equip graduates with practical knowledge for the purpose of obtaining diplomas and degrees in education and other professional areas related to education to meet the learning and research needs of prospective students and research in Nigeria and beyond. Identify the problems and need of education sector in Nigeria and to find solutions to them within the context of overall national development framework while focusing on teacher education through teaching, learning, and utilitarian innovation as enhancer for better education, teaching, and learning conditions in Nigerian tertiary institutions. 3, to collaborate with other national and international educational outfits and institutions involved in training, research, and development of education with a view to promoting good governance, leadership, and managerial skill among specialists in the education sector. Mr. President, usually the establishment bill of institutions follow the same pattern. So this, I don't need to bore us with all this. I will just go straight to the recommendations. Recommendations. The Senate Committee on Tertiary Institution and Tetfon, to which this bill was referred, having carefully considered same, hereby recommend as follows. That the Senate do consider and pass the bill for an act to upgrade the Federal College of Education of Kenya, Kogi State, to a fully fledged Federal University of Education of Kenya, Kogi State, and for connected matters 2022 SB 933. In conclusion, I wish to use this opportunity to thank the Senate President and my distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in the capacity, and humbly request the Senate to pass the bill. I so move.
Any comments? Leader, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that we resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I wish to second the motion that you move to the committee.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this bill is a straightforward bill for the establishment of a tertiary institution. It's not a controversial or complicated bill. So I'll be a little bit fast. Those in favor at clause 1 to 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6. Clause 6 is on page 6. Those in favor at clause 6 to 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 is functions of the Vice Chancellor. Hi. This report is looking very clumsy, but I think the Secretariat should work on it. Very clumsy, very untidy. Secretariat, corrections have been made with pen. Please take note of that because it's so important that we get everything right. Clause 11 is on page 11, functions of the Vice Chancellor. Those who are at clause 11 to 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16 is on page 13. Those who are at clause 16 to 20 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21 is on page 18. Participation and discipline of students. Those who are at clause 21 to 25 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 26 to clause 30 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 31 and clause 32 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 27 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedules 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 50 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, Plenary.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary for the chair to report progress.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate move back to the Senate to report.
I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those who are at the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education Okene, Kogi State Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 32 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Federal University of Education Okene Kogi State Establishment Bill 2022 be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
I rise that the motion should be read third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Okene, Kogi State, and for other matters connected therewith, 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Okene, Kogi State, and for other matters connected therewith, 2022, third reading taken, and this bill is passed. Congratulations, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that we stand down the next item.
You are not standing down. We are considering the concurrence. Oh, okay. It's not concurrence. It's for Senator Ekunife. Oh, okay. Please. Go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that we stand down the next item on the agenda.
Order paper, not agenda, or leader. Minority Leader.
I so second, Mr. President. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the consideration of the next item on the order paper till another legislative day, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, Concurrence.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 9th and 12th order of the day, 9th to 12th order of the day are House bills for concurrence as listed on the order paper. Distinguished senators will recall that these bills were read the first time in the chamber on Tuesday, 26 July 2022, Wednesday, 28 September 2022, and Wednesday, 5th October 2022, respectively. Mr. President, for simple nature of the bills and the inter-chamber reciprocity, I will use a single lead debate on the bills.
You may proceed, please.
Lead debate on the bills for concurrence from the House of Representatives. 1. Federal College of Agriculture, Ijebu, JESA, Establishment Bill 2022, HB 322. 2. Federal Polytechnic, Garku, Establishment Bill 2022, HB 820. 3rd, Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS Bill 2022, HB 1421, and the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022, HB 1279. The Federal College of Agriculture, Ijebu, JESA, Establishment Bill 2022, HB 322, was read the first time on Wednesday, 28 September 2022. This bill seeks to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Agriculture, Ijebu, JESA, Osun State, and to identify the agricultural problems and needs of Nigeria.
Chief Whip, please, the chamber is noisy. Please, distinguished colleagues, Senator Obasani, please, you people should take your seats, please. Or you go to tea room.
Federal Polytechnic Garko Establishment Bill 2022 HB 820 was read the first time on Wednesday, 28 September 2022. The bill seeks to establish Federal Polytechnic Garko.
Senator Obi Nogba, please come back to your seat, please. Please.
September 2022. The bill seeks to establish Federal Polytechnic Garko shall provide full-time courses in technology, instruction and training in the sciences, social sciences, applied sciences, management and other fields of studies, and to make provision for the general administration of the Polytechnic. Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS, Bill 2022 HB 1421 was read the first time on Wednesday, 5th October 2022. This bill seeks to repeal the Federal School of Medical Laboratory Technology Science, JOS, Act 2018, and enact the Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS, to provide for the courses leading to the award of diplomas and the certificates to medical laboratory technology. Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022, HB 1279, was read the first time on Tuesday, 26 July 2022. This bill seeks to repeal and enact the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act, Cap N113, LFN, to broaden the scope and the functions or responsibilities of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs to add more value to the foreign mission. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, these are straightforward and not controversial and have gone through the necessary legislative process in the House of Representatives. I therefore urge you all to support the second reading of these bills as we refer them to the Committee of the Whole for close-by-close consideration. I so move.
Any comments? Any comments? Yes, the Deputy Senate Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have some difficulty with the title of the third bill, which is Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology. Usually we have medical laboratory and science laboratory. And it seems that this bill wants to combine the two under a college. And I'm thinking it should be Medical and Science Laboratory Technology College rather than Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology. Is it? Huh?
Well, my understanding is it will read the Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology. The science, my understanding is the science of medical laboratory. The Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. This name is okay because this is specifically looking at the medical field where they have laboratory scientists and they also have laboratory technologists. So, but specifically in the medical area. That is what this bill is specifically looking at. The one you are talking about is those who deal with science laboratory. That is different. This one is specifically looking at the medical, area. That is why they have medical laboratory science, medical laboratory technologist. So that is why it's combined.
I think it's okay, Deputy Leader. Well, those in favor that these bills be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for now to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Agriculture, Ijebu-Jesha, Osun State, and for related matters, 2022, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for now to provide for establishment of Federal Polytechnic, GACO, Kano State, to provide full-time courses in technology, social sciences, applied science, management, and other fields of study, and to make provisions for the general administration of the Polytechnic and for related matters 2022, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for now to repeal the Federal School of Medical Laboratory Technology, Science, JOS Act 2018, and enact the Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS, to provide for courses leading to the award of diplomas and certificates in medical laboratory technology and other related courses, and for related matters 2022, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal and enact the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act, Cap N113, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to broaden the scope and functions or responsibilities of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, to add more value to the foreign mission, and to provide for the power to conduct courses of instruction and learning, and to create an academic board to award postgraduate diploma, PGD, and master degrees in international relations, diplomatic practices, and for related matters 2022, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Agriculture, Ijebu-Jesha, Osun State, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal Polytechnic, Garko, Kano State, to provide full-time courses in technology, social sciences, applied science, management, and other fields of study, and to make provisions for the general administration of the Polytechnic and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to repeal the Federal School of Medical Laboratory Technology, Science, JOS Act 2018, and enact the Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS, to provide for courses leading to the award of diplomas and certificates in medical laboratory technology and other related courses, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to repeal and enact the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act, Cap N113, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to broaden the scope and functions or responsibilities of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, to add more value to the foreign mission, and to provide for the power to conduct courses of instruction and learning, and create an academic board to award postgraduate diploma, PGD, and master degrees in international relations, diplomatic practices, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and this bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the bills. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverse to Committee of Board as so second. Sorry.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the four reports, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. first report, Federal College of Agriculture, Ijebu Jesha. Very straightforward. Those in favor that clause 1 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 12 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 14 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Report number 2, Federal Polytechnic Garko. Those who are at clause 1 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11 to 18 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule on page 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. The third report, Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology. Those who are at clause 1 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 21 to 30 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 31 to 36 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule on page 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 24 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. The last report, final one, Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Those who are at clause 1 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 21 to 30 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 31 to 36 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 21 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, plenary.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I rise to report that the Senate reverts back to plenary to report back. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse plenary for the charge report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Federal College of Agriculture Ijebu-Jesha Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 21 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole also considered the Federal Polytechnic Garko Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 18 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole also considered the Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS, Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 36 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole also considered the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 36 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules 1 and 2 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this also a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the 4 bills be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I rise for the bill to be read for the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that these 4 bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Agriculture, Ijebu-Jesha, Osun State, and for related matters 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal Polytechnic, Garko, Kano State, to provide full-time courses in technology, social sciences, applied science, management, and other fields of study, and to make provisions for the general administration of the Polytechnic and for related matters 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Federal School of Medical Laboratory Technology Science, JOS Act 2018, and enact the Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS, to provide for courses leading to the award of diplomas and certificates in medical laboratory technology and other related courses, and for related matters 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal and enact the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act, CAP N113, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to broaden the scope and functions or responsibilities of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, to add more value to the foreign mission, and to provide for the power to conduct courses of instruction and learning, and create an academic board to award postgraduate diploma, PGD, and master degrees in international relations, diplomatic practices, and for related matters 2022. Third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Agriculture in Jebu-Jesha, Osun State, and for related matters 2022 third reading taken, and the bill is passed. A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal Polytechnic Garko, Kano State, to provide full-time courses in technology, social sciences, applied science, management, and other fields of study, and to make provisions for the general administration of the Polytechnic and for related matters 2022 third reading taken, and this bill is also passed. Congratulations, Malia, Senator Barrow Jibrin. A bill for an act to repeal the Federal School of Medical Laboratory Technology Science, JOS, Act 2018, and enact the Federal College of Medical Laboratory Science and Technology, JOS, to provide for courses leading to the award of diplomas and certificates in medical laboratory technology and other related courses, and for related matters 2022 third reading taken, and this bill is also passed. A bill for an act to repeal and enact the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs Act, CAP N 113, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to broaden the scope and functions or responsibilities of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, to add more value to the foreign mission, and to provide for the power to conduct courses of instruction and learning, and create an academic board to award postgraduate diploma, PGD, and master degrees in international relations, diplomatic practices, and for related matters 2022 third reading taken, and this bill is also passed. Leader of the Senate, adjournment.
Mr. President, do we have to pronounce this? There is this paper.
Just paper.
No, I'm talking of this paper and the second distinguished parliamentarians.
Okay, let me announce.
Parliament, eh?
Let me announce.
Okay.
Give it to Solemn. Second Distinguished Parliamentarians Lecture 2022. Distinguished senators are invited to participate in the second edition of the Distinguished Parliamentarians Lecture Series, organized by the National Assembly and facilitated by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS. The series has been initiated by the National Assembly as an annual event to broaden legislative experience by bringing together eminent speakers to share knowledge and encourage thought-provoking conversations on issues of national importance. The topic of this edition of the lecture series, which will be presented by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Bajaba Mila, CFR, is delivering on further court, our contract with Nigerians, end of court, implementing the legislative agenda of the 9th House of Representatives, progress, challenges, and way forward. The President of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan, PhD, GCON, is the chief host at the occasion. Am I the chief host? Leader? Okay. Okay, because it's National Assembly. Okay. The event, which will be declared open by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GSCFR, is scheduled to hold as follows. Date, 12 December 2022, that is Monday. Venue, right? Yes, it's Monday. Venue, Africa Hall, International Conference Center, Abuja. Time, 9 a.m. All senators are kindly requested to attend. Well, last year, distinguished colleagues, some of us will recall that last year I presented the first on the series of the parliamentarian lecture series. And the topic of last year was on legislature and society or something. I can't get it offhand. but largely about the legislature in Nigeria, and with particular reference to the National Assembly. This year, this will be the second on the series. The Speaker will be the one to present, but this is not limited to only members of the National Assembly. Other sessions could be anybody else from anywhere, even outside the country. And I want to urge all of us that we try to attend. This is a creation of the 9th National Assembly in an effort to educate Nigerians on what we do in the National Assembly, because we are the most misunderstood arm of government. Some genuinely misunderstanding, others, many others, mischievously making it look like everything bad is National Assembly. But this is the arm of government that defines that there's democracy in Nigeria, and we should try our best to ensure that we educate citizens to understand what we do and participate in our democracy. Thank you very much, Leader. So, Leader, is that what you want? Okay. Adjournment.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, 13th December 2022 at 10 a.m. I so move.
Leader, the way you are moving this motion, like with all your strength and excitement. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second that this topic will move until Tuesday, 13.
All right, thank you very much, Minority Leader. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn to Tuesday, the 13th day of December, 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till Tuesday, the 13th day of December, 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt.